Awesome. Well, listen, this is for everybody. My name is Christopher Morris with Vidart, Texas, here in Corsicana, Texas, 903 Realty Group, Premier Realty. This is my good friend, Anthony Laforge from Trinity Oaks Mortgage. How are you, sir? What's going
Good.
on?
How are you?
Welcome aboard.
I'm glad to be here, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you so much. So I guess we'll just kind of roll right into it. Like, talk to me about who Anthony Laforge is. Like, where'd you come from? Where you born and raised? All that good stuff.
Where'd I come from? I came from Estella Laforge. No, I'm playing. Born and raised in Ennis, Texas, which is down the street from where we're at right now.
Okay.
I'm native to Ellis County, Navarro County. Wife is from Corsicana area.
Okay.
Who is Anthony? Easy to break down. Big family man. That's pretty much it. And then I happen to do mortgages.
Right.
So I would say first and foremost, big in my faith. Second, big in family, and then third, I like to do mortgages.
That's awesome.
That's pretty much it, man. Kind of boring.
No, it's all good, man. So, what brought you into mortgage? Like, how did that? Because I can't imagine that you were in high school going, "Hey, man, I want to do mortgages."
I don't think anyone does. I think mortgages are like that hidden gem that people just stumble into. Long story short, in college, I had to intern at a bank. I interned at a bank, had a phenomenal mentor who pushed me into the directions of mortgages because he just said, listen, man, you are going to retire at a bank one day and you'll sit behind the desk and just retire and kick your feet up and do the banking thing. But as a young man trying to make money in this industry, obviously you need to go into the mortgage side of things. And so he kind of just kicked me out and said, go figure it out. And here we are. Yeah. So. And
how did you wind up at Trinity Oaks?
So Trinity was, honestly, I was looking into go into more corporate-sized banking. So like Bank of America's, Legion Bank, Chase Bank, and did some praying. And honestly, I feel like the Lord just led me towards Trinity Oaks Mortgage. And so when I got connected to Trinity Oaks, I have a history in underwriting, which for those of you who don't know, underwriting is basically you speak to a mortgage lender like myself, but behind the scenes, there's people that are handling things. Such as paperwork, documentation, all that good stuff.
Yeah, the fun stuff.
The fun stuff, right? That was my background prior at the bank when I was interning.
Okay.
I wasn't a full-blown loan officer there like I am today.
Okay.
And so basically, when I came to Trinity, I had the option to either pursue a loan officer position, which is what I love to do, being with people, hanging out with you every day, or going into underwriting. I just decided loan officer, and here I am now.
Okay. So do you think being more forward-facing fits sort of who you are?
Oh, absolutely, dude. I couldn't stand being behind a desk. I love people.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's just like, dude, I mean, you're in the same industry as I am. You're just on the real estate side of things.
Correct.
People is my passion. And I'm cool with talking to you on the phone, but being able to connect with you personally and building relationship and rapport personally and being a part of your story when it comes to buying a house, it's what I love to do. So, yeah, definitely loan officer is better for me.
Gotcha.
Than hanging out behind that desk.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why I would never do transaction coordination. It's the same thing, right? Like I want to be in front of people. Background for me is 25 years as a hairdresser. So I've been dealing with people and talking to people for a very, very long time. And it's what I really enjoy. And on top of that, being on the service thing.
Of a hairdresser, you've never tried to, cut my hair.
You've never asked.
Another video.
There's that. So
you always been in the service industry?
I've been in the service industry since I'm 13 years old. Yeah.
Same.
Yeah.
Not 13, but.
Yeah. I started working in kitchens when I was 13. And as soon as I was able to be on the floor in a restaurant, I was doing that. I was hoping to transition to actually be a chef. That was my dream as a 3-year-old.
Really?
Yeah. Yep. And then found out that was not for me. Being a chef is great and I love it. It's super creative, but the biggest element that it's missing is there's no people time.
Yeah.
It's the same 6 people, great people, but same 6 people all night long, 5 days a week. So just wasn't for me. And I loved waiting tables, but I lacked the creativity. So when I stumbled into hairdressing, it was a perfect fit for me. And to a very large degree, I feel like that sort of has carried over into real estate because oddly, I find there's a lot of creativity in real estate. Absolutely. Crafting a deal, countering offers and doing that creatively, where you're not making anybody angry, right? Yeah. Like everybody's just understands that this is business. These are the numbers that are going to work for whomever. So it's a lot of fun for me. I
No
really
hair,
enjoy it.
no hair in the food either.
No hair. No, no, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I
Exactly.
actually had the same story. Not the chef side of things, but I was in bartending, waiting tables through college.
Hmm.
Kind of built up that compassion for people, like you're expressing. Hairdressing's helped you when you're transitioning into real estate. Same thing with mortgages. It just kind of sets me up to serve. If that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I think that's the thing that a lot of people don't, they sort of miss when they're looking at agents or mortgage officers or loan officers. It's like there's just a ton of service and relationship that goes behind what we do every day, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
behind the scenes and
hmm
things that go unseen. Yeah,
yeah.
for sure.
If I had hair, I would have ripped a lot of it out already, just because I care so much about my clients, right? Like
Yeah,
I literally put myself on the line every day for my clients to the best of my
yeah,
ability.
absolutely. I
So,
can contest of it.
yeah.
I see it all the time. So
So,
I have hair. It's just going gray.
yeah.
So
Well,
similar.
it
It hasn't
happens.
fallen out
It
yet.
happens. So, I guess what is obviously you're in mortgage, so it's a little bit harder to kind of target a clientele, but what is your favorite loan package or your favorite clientele to deal with? Like, what do you enjoy the most?
I mean, at the end of the day, I enjoy working with everyone. I
Hmm.
believe in the American dream. Call me old school, but white picket fence, nice house, red door. That's just the ideal American dream,
Right.
right? I just love the fact that I'm able to help people achieve that goal. If I was to narrow it down, definitely hands down, first time home
Wow, we
buyer.
actually have
Absolutely,
that in common.
first time home
Same.
buyer. One, it's because when you talk to a first time home buyer, they have no idea what's going on,
Right.
and you get to work with them, explain things to them, hold their hand throughout that whole transaction. And there's a lot of people in our industry that don't care to do that, and that's cool.
Yeah, totally
But
fine.
I once upon a time was a first time home
Hmm.
buyer, and I wished I had that person that kind of held my hand, educated me throughout the process. And so that's what I get to do for a lot of people. And there's no greater feeling. I'm sure you can attest to this. Being able to, hand those keys over to them at the closing table with congratulations. They're just smiling. Some are crying. It's
Yeah,
just
it's awesome.
it's very gratifying
Yeah,
working with first time home
I have to agree. Doing the big glamorous deals like that's a lot of fun. Don't get me wrong, but it's a different thing, right? It's those people typically they've done this before. It's a bit more transactional.
buyers.
There's a whole lot less of emotion kind of wrapped up in it, and there's just being able to help somebody get into their first house, knowing that I was a part of that, and especially if it's a younger person, having them understand that they just open the door to the number one wealth building tool
Absolutely.
in the country, right?
And not even understanding that it is the number one wealth building tool until you sit. And that's the good thing about finance is we don't just do the loan for you, but we project how much money you will make based off of this transaction down the road and
Mm,
how we leverage this transaction to build generational wealth for you and your family for years to come.
right.
And then, working with the clients that have never owned a home before, and no one in their family has ever owned
Has
a
ever
home
owned a
before.
home. Correct.
And they're the first in multiple generations to stop renting. That's huge.
It's a big
And
deal.
for me, that is what it's all about.
Yep.
Building that generational wealth, educating them on how to do it, and then connecting them as well to people that can help them further down the road. So, hey, as things progress and we need a financial advisor, hey, I got a buddy over here, or
Right.
I got a friend over here that does
Yep.
this, and just being a bridge builder.
Yeah.
It's
I tell all of my clients to a person, listen, we are attached to the hip, whether you like me or not. I'm
you
kind of,
stuck.
you're stuck with
Yeah,
me, right? Like I'm going to call you occasionally and ask you if there's anything that I can help you with.
yeah,
And that's my job, right? Like win, lose, draw, whatever, doesn't really matter. Whether you like me, you hate me, it doesn't matter. I will always be there for you.
yeah. Because
And that's a huge deal to
one of the
me.
and it's funny that you mentioned this because after the transaction, that buyers are somewhat alarmed whenever I call them.
Yeah.
And they're like,
Hmm.
"Hey, what's up? Like, is everything okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, everything's fine. I'm just saying what's up." Like,
Right.
and the big thing is, I feel like if you don't establish that relationship after you do a transaction and you just kind of leave them out to dry, they are transactional at that point.
Correct.
And so,
Agreed.
if our goal is to continue working with you throughout the years, well, that's my goal at least, to be your lifelong lender, then this isn't just a transaction; it's a friendship. How are the kids? How
Right.
was your holidays?
Right.
Stuff like that. So,
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. Do you only work in Texas? Do you work outside of Texas? Like, what does that look like for you?
so me personally, I'm licensed in Texas, so I can do anything, any loan in the state of Texas.
Okay.
I have about 8 loan officers that work alongside with me that are part of our company, and they are licensed in other states such as Florida, Colorado, New Jersey.
Okay.
So if there's ever any other loans that need to be done in a different state, I have the possibility. But my bread and butter is really North Texas, Central Texas area. But I can lend all over the state of Texas.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Have you ever considered stepping outside of Texas?
I have. I think at some point in this industry, you spread yourself too thin
Mm-hmm.
and you become transactional. When the market was bumping a few years ago, we grew significantly, and I was probably in about 6 or 7 different states. It just came too transactional for me. And I know some people are all about, hey, I'm going to chase the dollar. Me, no, I'm here for the people. So that's why I kind of reverted back from doing that, and it's just mainly focused on Texas,
Yeah.
man. And it's a big state, so.
It is a big state. I like to tell the story. I had a friend of mine, and he said to me, he's like, "Oh, I got some property I want to sell," and I was like, "Oh, cool. Where? Like, talk to me." And he's like, "Yeah, it's 10 acres. We're like $50,000 for it." And of course, my ears perk up, right? I'm like, "Oh my god, that's awesome. Can I help?"
Yeah.
So where is it? And he told me where it was, and I hit the Googles, and it was 9 hours away, and it was still in the state of Texas. So yeah, it is a gigantic state.
Yep.
But Phil,
Absolutely.
I'm I'm a transplant, as I know you know. Been here for about 2 years, and I do not see myself leaving the state of Texas anytime soon.
I don't blame you. I don't
No,
plan on going nowhere either.
it's pretty awesome. It's pretty awesome. So, like, I guess tell me, what is your like? What do you see the mortgage industry becoming in the next 10 years?
Ooh, that's a great question. Um, I definitely see it harder for people to buy houses.
Okay,
And
is
the
that by the
reason
cost or because the loans are going to get tighter? What does that mean?
it's not that the loans are going to get tighter; it's the cost.
Okay.
What I run into on a daily basis is depending on where you're purchasing. Every place is different. So we're today in Corsicana, but if I go just up the street to Frisco, it's night and day difference.
Yes.
And so it's really just affordability on where you're able to afford. I hate to say it this way, but people, unfortunately, their wages are not keeping up with the housing market.
Okay.
The housing market's going like this, but people's wages are going like this.
Right.
And so the average person making 75,000 a year, doing a great
Which
job,
is good money.
which is really good money,
Yeah.
are having a hard time qualifying for houses in particular areas.
Gotcha.
Which it just that's one of the main things that we love to do whenever we're talking to clients is figure out what their budget is and then work the loan around that budget to help have them give them a good idea on what it looks like to purchase, like the purchase powering, the power that they have.
Right.
Because there's no sense of shopping for $1 million property if we're don't have the budget for $1 million mortgage.
Right. Or don't want to spend the money.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So I know that the kind of the king of mortgages is for years has been conventional, correct? That was kind of the gold standard. Everybody judged like, oh, I got a 30-year conventional, blah, 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 at this rate. Do you think that the conventional loan will be around much longer? I know that I've heard people say that it's definitely a little shaky. And they've also now it's not 20%, it's 5%. So
yeah,
like,
I don't think it's going anywhere. I do believe, however, that I say this all the time. You've probably heard me say it. FHA all the way. I think the FHA loan, which is a different type of loan from conventional, that was originally structured for the individuals who couldn't get into a conventional loan. That's why they came out with an FHA program.
What are the main differences, real quick?
So mainly you have the really the main thing from my end is your debt to income ratio. So without going into too much, you know, mortgage lingo, the ability to afford more house.
Okay.
That's all it really boils down
Okay.
to versus your income. And so that's our main difference there. 3.5% down versus the 5% minimum down payment going conventional. Credit score requirement, most places, including my lending company, 620 minimum for a conventional loan versus a 580. If you go
It's a big
FHA,
deal. Yeah.
FHA also requires you, or also allows you to go all the way down to a 500 credit score. However, you have to have a 10% down payment at that point. Most lending institutes won't allow that. I know I don't. I only go as low as 580.
Okay.
But there's just a lot more accessibility to home ownership with an FHA loan, and it's just more. It's easier to obtain home ownership using that loan, and I see a lot of millennials, younger generation, definitely heading that way. I don't think the idea of saving 20% and buying a house that way is going to be the norm going forward in the next 10, 15 years. I think
Mm,
it's going to be the, hey, what does it take for me to get into the house today and purchasing it with the lowest amount of money out of pocket?
gotcha. And you think that that is being somewhat driven by home prices as well?
Yeah, most definitely.
Okay.
Just because of its affordability. At the end of the day, like,
Mm-hmm.
man, I want a house, but I can't afford it. And so if I have to go a conventional loan that requires, um, here's the way I explain it to everybody. Conventional is the ideal party that we want to go to, but we're going to use the FHA loan to get us to that party. So the FHA loan is the vehicle that gets us into the housing market today, that takes us to that conventional party. What I mean by this is, for example, the market that we're in today, interest rates are a little bit higher than what people are used to. They're still historically normal,
Yep.
but they're higher than what we're used to from the last two
For
or 3 years
several
ago.
years, yeah.
So what we're doing is using the FHA loan to get you into the house today, build your appreciation, and then when we see a dip in interest rates and we start refinancing, we'll refinance you into that conventional loan. Gives you that ability to build your appreciation up today, but it also, you know, has you have the ability to get into the conventional loan later down the road as well. The main thing we're
Gotcha.
focused on is getting you into the house
Correct.
today to build that appreciation down the road.
Yeah. So very often, if I'm making calls or I'm talking to people on the phone or even on the street, and I do some door knocking, and or if I'm at the whatever, I'm at the grocery store and I have this shirt on, and somebody's like, "Oh, you're a real estate agent?" Yeah, yeah, I am. And I'm like, "Well, have you ever considered purchasing a house?" I always get, "Well, we have, but we're not quite there yet."
Mm.
So I have yet to figure out what that exactly
That.
means, right? Like, but for you as a mortgage officer, as a loan officer, what would be the ideal situation? Somebody calls you up and they say to you, I want to buy a house, but I need to do some work. Can you, like, what's that timeline look like? Where should people be planning, I guess? Say they're a little bit beat up on credit scores. Maybe they're at a 560, right?
Yeah.
They want to get into a house. They don't have a ton of money down. So, what is that? How would you propose somebody plan for that?
Start. That's
Mm,
it. Just start. A lot of people, I think what it is just the fear of the unknown. We don't know how to buy a house. They don't do this every day like you and I do.
mm,
So talking to someone, and that's what I mean by starting, just sit down and have a free consultation with someone. Like, I'm not going to charge you for my time. I
right,
will get on the phone with you, answer any questions that you might have. It's not pushy like car salesman-y, like, hey, you need to buy this house today.
right.
Right? It's nothing like
It's nothing
that.
like that.
It's how can I help you get to your goal of home ownership? We just take a look at where you're at currently and then just set up the strategy to get you there. But I think the biggest deterrent for people is just not understanding how it all works, and it just causes fear for them and not starting, or they're going off of info that grandma told them, hey, you need to get 20% saved,
Hmm.
just these common myths that we run into, which they're great, but those are myths that they're not myths. It's true. Putting 20% down, it has its benefits, but the reality of
Absolutely, yeah.
someone putting 20% down just isn't likely nowadays,
Correct.
especially for kids coming straight out of college, have student loan debt. It's a whole nother world. And so if I'm going off the advice that mom and dad are giving me, that's a whole nother market that they're buying houses in too. And so it's just sitting down and talking to somebody and letting them lay all the numbers out for you, showing you this is what it takes, this is what you need to do. Man, I have numerous of stories. Just 2 weeks ago, closed a loan where I gave the lady money back when she purchased the property.
Yeah.
People don't understand that
They
that's
don't,
possible,
possible. Correct.
but they will never
Yep.
understand until they have that conversation with someone. And hear me when I say this: not everyone is going to educate and take them down that road and show them this is what you need to do.
Right.
So partnering with someone like yourself that knows what they're doing, knows what they're talking about, is extremely important, in my opinion, because you want someone that's in your corner like you. I mean, I've watched you fight for people, so it's just not physically fight.
Right.
You
No,
might
yeah.
have, but I don't know about that. I don't know about that.
But
But you get what I'm saying. Having someone that's in your corner, that's going to bat for you, that's fighting for you, is extremely important. Someone that's going to stop, take the time, educate you, help you understand what you're getting. Buying a house is one of the biggest financial decisions most people ever make in their life. I'll be darned if I let you do it by yourself.
Agreed, 100%. One of the things that I love doing is actually, and I think Lacey actually posted a picture of it at one point, but I had a client come in and she's never purchased a house. Her husband is from out of country, lives here now. And when I spoke to her on the phone, she was scared.
Yeah.
Like I could hear it in her voice. She was really nervous about the whole thing. So I said to her, I was like, have you ever done this before? She goes, no. I said, well, what does an hour before our appointment look like for you? And she was like, I'm free. She came in the office. I literally pulled up the contract. I showed her everything on there, told her what it means, explained the entire thing to her. And I was like, I know that's high level, but how do you feel? She's like, that's not that bad. And I'm like,
Yeah.
no. And I said, I handle most of it anyway.
Yep.
I fill in all the blanks. You just sign off on it. And she was like, okay.
We had a client just the other day said, you guys make this too easy. And that's the greatest compliment.
That's awesome.
The
That's
fact
awesome
that
to
you're
hear.
able to hear it from a client saying, you have made this too easy for me. That's perfect. That's
Yeah.
what we want. That's how it should be. It's not that way everywhere. Not hating on any
Agreed.
of my friends.
100%.
Love all
Yeah,
of you
yeah,
guys. But it's just not that. It's not the truth. It's not the same everywhere you go. So
Yeah. And and listen, there are a lot of agents in town that even just in Corsicana that they definitely cater to the higher end client.
Mhm.
And in a lot of ways, they're easier, right? Like I don't have to sit down and explain things. They have their challenges too. They can be pretty picky and a little bit challenging. But back to our point, it's so much more rewarding for me to I have an educational heart as well.
Mhm.
I work at Navarro College. I teach hair there. I've taught hairdressers how to cut hair for years in
Yeah.
salon. And when somebody gets that
The
and
light bulb.
it just pops on,
Yeah.
it's everything to me. And especially in something like this, it's such a massive thing. It's so much money.
I agree.
And yeah, they need to be protected.
If
And
I-
that's my job.
If I wasn't in mortgage, I'd definitely probably be in education.
Mm,
Just because I'm the same way.
yeah.
I want you to get it. Seeing
Yeah.
that light bulb is priceless.
It's priceless.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So I guess really that pretty much wraps it up for us, right? I think
Yes.
so. Yeah.
Anything else you want to know?
Not offhand, no. I mean, you're a friend. I'll just text you and bug you in the middle of the night.
Right on. I'm here for it.
Yeah. So tell me where you're at. Give us your contact information, and
Sure.
we'll close out.
Yeah. So I'm obviously Anthony Laforge, Trinity Oaks Mortgage. Phone numbers 469-245-8745. We handle all of your home financing needs. If you're doing mobile, we're good with that. If you're buying $1 million properties, we're also good with that. So whatever you need, we're just a phone call away or a text away. We're happy to connect with you and get you guys pre-approved and achieve that goal of home ownership. So
Awesome.
that's it.
Anthony, thanks for taking the time, brother.
You bet,
I
bro.
appreciate you.
No problem.
Man. Take care, guys. Thank you so much. Thanks for listening.
See
We'll
ya.
see y'all soon.